Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I vlog daily to keep you updated on the real-life situation in my country as this awful war with Russia continues. But I believe because of Ukrainian bravery and the support of the world, we will win, and maybe with the help of my videos you will witness this process. So if you like my vlogs and you're new to the channel, please subscribe because I believe the world lacks information about Ukraine. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is the idea of Putin to cease fire for Christmas. Well, of course, he is not the one to be trusted because I do like one quote that comes from the 19th century. It seems to me that the the agreement with Russia is not worth the paper on which it was signed. And our modern history of Soviet occupation prove this fact, that whatever Russia promises, very often it does the contrary. And a very similar thing happened today when Putin and his Minister of Defense, actually his Minister of Attack, Shoigu, decided that they want to demonstrate kindness and they will cease fire for Christmas. I have to remind you that some Orthodox churches celebrate Christmas on the 7th of January, so the 6th of January is Christmas Eve, similar to the 24th of December. This year, the majority of Ukrainians were allowed by our church patriarchs to celebrate Christmas together with the world, and that's what my family did. So I do remember times when 6th and 7th of January were festive days, and honestly, I will not organize huge cleanings or something in my house. Maybe I will cook a nice dinner tomorrow, but still for me, Christmas is already on the 24th of December. It is not only a political decision, we live according to Gregorian calendar to a new one, plus it's comfortable to celebrate it with the majority of Christians in the world, and I think it's logical when you have Christmas before New Year, especially if you look deeper into the history of Jesus, and it explains everything. So anyway, Russians want to demonstrate that for them the only day for Christmas is the 7th of January, and that's why they proclaim ceasefire. Well, how it all works. Today we were shelled heavily. We had an air raid alarm, but we have also ceasefire from Russia. So any of the promises, they are not worth your attention at all. I was negatively surprised that the president of Hungary, who seemed to be a little bit more democratic than Orban, later said that she is happy that Putin makes the steps towards freedom. No, these are not steps in the direction of freedom, and I can answer her in the words of, it seems to me, the Lithuanian Minister of Defense, and Lithuanians know Russia better, and he said that, like, no, this is just the time for killers to regroup, rest, and continue killing Ukrainians, nothing else. But they are not even taking this rest that they wanted, because today Kherson was shelled and the center of the city, and 18-year-old boy died, and in some other hot zones of Ukraine there were shellings and people died. So this is an example of the Russian ceasefire. And of course, it goes without saying that they don't need it as a demonstration of peace or the desire to negotiate, and who negotiate with terrorists, but they only want to have some rest, maybe to supply their soldiers, and of course to regroup. So any pause in this war they use just to build up strength. That's why for us it is very important not to accept any of their offers, and of course not to stop fighting back or not to take pauses for negotiations, because once again, agreements signed with Russia are not worth the paper on which they were signed. And when they saw, Russian orgs saw the reaction of Ukrainians who are not feeling safe about the idea of ceasefire, their drunk ex-president Medvedev started spreading his drunk ideas. I think he's going to be one of the most popular persons on Twitter and Facebook soon, because the number of bullshit that he posts there grows like exponentially, and he called Ukrainians ungrateful swines. This is how they treat other nations and peoples, because like we were given a chance to rest and to survive, but we don't need that. And I think the fact that we don't need that actually demonstrates that it is Ukrainians who are kicking asses of Russian soldiers here. And of course, any pauses they use just to regroup and to make some other awful hits. And of course, once again, the fact that so many Ukrainian cities and territories were shelled and bombed today prove that it is nothing to talk about. And also, I know that today my not favorite Pope Francis spoke to the world, and like I'm not the one to judge religious leaders, and the things that I don't like about him, that he does not blame Russia for what is happening, and even today praying for peace. He was talking only about Ukraine, that like Ukraine needs peace and maybe some steps must be taken. Well, Ukraine was a peaceful country. We did not attack anyone. These are orcs who came to loot, rape and kill. And if they leave, like, we will continue being peaceful. But right now we have to protect our existence, and that is why we cannot trust Russians. I remember one film that I watched, and actually I don't like films about war, and I always try to avoid them before war in Ukraine. If someone told me that we have a vlog named War in Ukraine, I would like deny that 100%, because actually I try to avoid films about the Second or the First World War, those that are close to us, not like ancient Rome or Greece. These are okay, but war in Afghanistan, in Iraq, some other things, because they made me feel very emotional, uncomfortable. And from one point of view, I understand that these are the things that we have to know, but it was like bad for me and I avoided. But I do remember watching one beautiful film about the First World War and the ceasefire that they had during Christmas, and soldiers were celebrating in trenches and they did not attack each other, and they felt so good, even started singing songs together. And it was very difficult for them to understand why this war is happening. But it's totally different with Ukraine and Russia, because here we have total hatred, total denial of Ukrainian existence from the side of Russians. And that is why we cannot have any kinds of compromise or negotiations with them. Only after they are out of all of our territories, we can start thinking what are the steps that we can take to finalize this war, to punish those that are responsible, to get our reparations, and so on and so forth. So anyway, if I do have some people who celebrate Christmas today and tomorrow among my subscribers, some Orthodox people, may it bring light, joy and happiness to you, and of course victories that we need so much in our lives. Thank you once again for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you for buying me coffees and becoming my patrons, but most importantly, thank you for supporting Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!